No one can make an intelligent decision without being properly informed. This is why this world wants to control the media. This is why media hype can take you up, take you down. So you don't know anymore who's really good, because the media can make a wicked man look good and make a good man look evil. That is why until the dawn, I can't quit. I'm like Saddam, keeping my eye on Clinton, watching each movie make. Cause every slither he takes sort of reminds.
Pick up that edition of the Final Call newspaper. Again, we have, what do we have? We have that back issue, Where Do We Go From Here? And this current issue, No Reason to Shoot Him, covering the horrific death or shooting of our brother Rayshard Brooks. And we're going to talk about this a little bit. How y'all doing tonight? Everybody feeling all right? Everybody feeling like I'm feeling? I'm feeling a little weird. I'm a little weirded out, Facebook. I'm a little weirded out, YouTube. This is a very strange time, but it's a time that our father, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and our father, the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, told us that we would see. And I opened up not only with our background music and our intro, but also I opened up with a picture of the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and this event that's coming up on July 4th. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be speaking to the world on July 4th. That's 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, and of course it will be 9 a.m. Mountain Time. But he's got a message for the world. He's got a message for the world. A last warning. Because people want to know, man, what does the Nation of Islam think? What is going on? Why don't we see you all out in the streets protesting? These are all questions, right? These are all questions that you all have. Kenyo, Sister Halima, Alicia, praise be to Allah. Good to see y'all. These are all questions that we have. This is a very, very crucial and dangerous time. If you all haven't noticed, if you've been living in a cave, America is absolutely on fire. America is being ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. That's really now become a black pandemic. Have y'all noticed that? Black people are being affected more so than anybody else. In Colorado, I just heard a statistic this morning that said that 60% of all the COVID-19 cases are amongst black and brown people. Now that is a horrific number, considering that black people in Colorado are only 6 to 7% of the population. Did you hear me? I said we're only 6 to 7% of the population. However, black people account for, black and brown account for 60% of COVID-19 cases. That's alarming. And I'm waiting for my Final Call newspaper, to come up, because we're dealing with the digital edition of the Final Call. And so I want to read something out of the paper, but for whatever reason, everything is moving real slow today. My internet's moving slow, but that's why I put in the heading, they can't stop us, because we're going to keep this thing going no matter what. But in the meantime, go and subscribe to digital.finalcall.com. That's, or not digital.finalcall, but finalcalldigital.com, and pick up this latest edition of the Final Call newspaper, which reads, "No reason to shoot him." And it just came across my CNN and the news that the officer has been charged with felony murder in the case of our brother Rayshard Brooks, who they shot in the back as he was running away, as he pointed a taser at them, which is not a deadly weapon, by the way. We're gonna start this over. But here's the problem. All of this in terms of what brought us out the streets, or out of the house, because we're all supposed to be quarantined. This is the quarantine show, part 10. But what brought us out of the house, of course, was the tragic death of our brother, George Floyd, who the police officers in Minneapolis, mainly Derek Chauvin and the other 3 accomplices, stood on the brother's neck for nearly 9 minutes, killing him, and that brought our people out of the house and into the streets, especially our young people. And it's time. But like I said before, they're asking, what are you all doing in the Nation of Islam? We don't see y'all out on the streets. I had my brother, student minister Carlos Muhammad of Baltimore, on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he made an excellent point, and it's so true. Sister Amina, assalamu alaikum. He said, and I agree with him, that our whole existence in this country, I'm talking about the Nation of Islam, is a protest. We don't have to stand out on the streets. We've been telling y'all and warning you of police brutality, of being amongst your enemies for 90 years. We've been telling you all who these people are. And of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is going to issue one last warning on July 4th, inshallah. And I don't know what he's going to say, but it's going to be revelation. I don't know what he's going to say. However, in teaching the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm sure part of it will be a reminder that we don't need to be amongst these people. Now I want to talk about a few things because we only got a little bit of time. I'm not going to take a whole lot of your time tonight. But we're talking about Brother Laron, assalamu alaikum. We're talking about what's going on in America. And I want to talk about a few things that we've been seeing, because when our people came out in the streets because of George Floyd, and now we're out in the streets even further because of the death of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta. Now you're beginning to see a bunch of white people out on the streets saying Black Lives Matter. Can we agree? We're beginning to see that. But I don't want us to get it twisted as to what that means, because Black lives absolutely matter. They absolutely matter. In fact, if Black lives don't matter, then no life on earth matters, because all life proceeded forth from Black life. Let me say that again. If Black lives don't matter, don't no life matter, because all life proceeded forth from Black life, according to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and according to the teachings of science. But we're dealing with this issue. I'm going to show it to you one more time because I want y'all to go get it. No reason to shoot him. No reason to shoot him. Police killing of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta ignites more outrage, anger, frustration, and despair, but no new answers. So I'm saying we're beginning to see a bunch of everybody out there on these streets. And you're beginning to see even on the news and in corporate America. In fact, I logged on to get something from Amazon and went to their site, and the first thing I saw was a Black Lives Matter proclamation. And that's a very powerful proclamation, that Black Lives Matter. But I don't want our young people to be fooled by white people saying in the streets that Black Lives Matter. Because when America's on fire, when money is being lost, when property is being damaged, and it's because of the murder of black men, yeah, they're going to say that Black Lives Matter. And I want you to understand that this is not new. I want to show you an image. Okay, so on the left, you got white people after George Floyd was murdered. Black Lives Matter. And you see all them white people? There's nothing but white people. But I want you to look down further on the right, and that is actually the march on Washington in 1963. And where you had white people with signs talking about, "We march for jobs." Jobs for all now. No U.S. dough to help Jim Crow grow. See, in order to trick you or to lull you back into sleep, in order to get things going back to normal where the dollars can begin to flow in America again, white people will act as if they stand with you. They'll do that. They will do that. My final call came up, and so I want to read from this first article, and then we'll get back into it because I got a few more points to make about Black Lives Matter. But this final call that we're dealing with is no reason to shoot him. And it covers the shooting of Rayshard Brooks. And I just want to read something out of this latest edition of the Final Call newspaper. And it reads, Atlanta. The young mother and wife was poised, initially holding her child and facing the media at an extremely difficult time. Her words, however, and clear pain were heartbreaking. There is no justice that can ever make me feel happy about what was done, said Tamika Miller, whose heart-rending words were broadcast live. I can never get my husband back. I can never get my best friend, she said, fighting back her tears. It's just going to be a long time before I heal, before this family heals, Miss Miller lamented. The grief of the 27-year-old widow of Rayshard Brooks, who was shot to death while running away from Atlanta police officers, and his tight-knit family was palpable. They spoke from their hearts. They spoke of who the father of 3 girls and a 13-year-old stepson was. They cried. Then together they walked away from the cameras and microphones, still hurting, still broken. So this is starting off on page 2 of this edition of the Final Call newspaper, and the article is entitled "We Are Tired," and it's written by Brother Brian E. Muhammad and Brother Eric Toure Muhammad, both Final Call staff writers. And is dealing with the death of our brother, another one, Rayshard Brooks. But I have to tell you, that as a member of the Nation of Islam, I'm not surprised. Don Blah, Assalamu alaikum. Sister Shahada, Big Ron in the building. And wa alaikum salam, Sister Shahada. We can't be surprised because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been warning us of this time. In fact, in Ferguson, when Michael Brown was killed by the devil, Darren Wilson, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that Ferguson and the murder of Michael Brown was a microcosm of a greater macrocosm. That it was a sign of things to come. And that it would not end until you and I were satisfied with the fact that we cannot live in peace amongst these people. That was in I want to say 2015, because right after the minister said that, then Ferguson jumped off. Y'all got to realize, man, don't believe the hype. Black Lives Matter. Yes, that is an incredible mantra. And the words of affirmation that our Black Lives Matter should be sewn into our minds. But then you also have to research who Black Lives Matter, the actual organization, is. And what else that they advocate. And I'm not trying to poo on Black Lives Matter in terms of that positive affirmation, because it absolutely is a positive affirmation. However, when you look deeply into Black Lives Matter, who's funded by George Soros, do some research on him. That not only do they stand strong under the proclamation that Black Lives Matter, but they're also strong about transgender and gay rights and LGBTQ, HIJK, LMNOP, however many types of sexual, I don't even want to call it deviancy, but that's what it is. They stand for them. If you read on their website, and I wish I had it in front of me, they say that part of their mission, Black Lives Matter, is to dismantle the nuclear family of man, women, and child, and really emphasize transgender and these different type of blended families as opposed to nuclear families. Y'all do the knowledge while we talking about Black Lives Matter. But the other thing that I want to get you all to see, family, is not to believe the hype. I seen a post of one of my brothers, Brother Yamana. Peace, brother. Sister Akasha, Assalamu alaikum. I seen a post of one of my dear brothers, and he was applauding. I don't want to say no names, but he was applauding the police kneeling and saying that Black Lives Matter. He was applauding this type of imagery right here. And I was like, wow. Do you all think that this is something to applaud? Sister Sharifa, peace, Queen. Do you think that this is something to applaud? That they're kneeling? Do you think it's something to applaud now that Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, said that he was wrong about Kaepernick? Y'all gotta understand, man, the money has stopped flowing. I want to stay on this police thing real quick, because brother was applauding and saying that when they say that Black Lives Matter and they kneel in support, he applauds that. Okay, I'm not G'ing for it. See, a police officer is trained. Most of them don't ever do it, but officers, excuse me, are trained to de-escalate a situation. So when you got people rioting in the streets and showing all sorts of animosity towards police and other authorities, what better way to de-escalate the situation is to pretend as if you are with them. We support you. And it's not hard to support when you know that your fellow officers did something wrong. When they kneeled, look at what they're doing. When they kneeled on George Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes, now you're kneeling in support of the protest? It's a pitiful display. And this sort of thing is happening everywhere. They're sending you all sorts of messages. That's right, Sister Sharifa. The first cop to kneel was a murderer, kneeling on our brother's neck. And then you have this sort of imagery is going on all over the media. They're constantly putting it in your face. They're constantly showing you this sort of thing to get you to think that they're with you. Listen to what I'm saying. Here's another one. This is members of Congress. There goes old Nancy Pelosi and the little brother from James Clyburn, that's his name, brother from South Carolina. You know, they all kneeling. They're all kneeling, and they're wearing kente cloth. I mean, pay attention. They're wearing kente cloth. They're wearing kente cloth, and they're kneeling. When did they start selling all this kente cloth? Where did this come from? I just gotta seriously. Where did they get this? That's right, brother LaRon. Psychological warfare. They are trying to trick you. However, they're kneeling. They're saying they're in support. But where is the legislation? There is none. Y'all gotta pay attention, man. We gotta pay attention, family, and we gotta tell our, especially our young brothers and sisters who are out there on these streets. And you know, we can't be mad at the young people for being out there on these streets because, hey, man. Right, brother LaRon. I don't even, brother. I don't own nothing that's kente cloth. I don't know where the hell they got that. Like, who told them that was a good idea? So this isn't new, man. White people, they're gonna be sympathetic in this hour because America's on fire, and we gotta stop it from burning. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he predicted the fall of America. And he warned us on page 201 and 202 of this magnificent book that the promises of the Caucasian in this hour would all prove to be false. I'm not going to read it right off the I don't have my book right in front of me, but I'm telling you, it's on page 201, 202 of this historic book, The Fall of America, which was published in 1973, that all of their promises would be false. They would prove false. And that the only way that they wouldn't prove false is if they, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, dealt squarely with us or gave us a square deal. So, you might ask, what would a square deal be, Brother Herman? A square deal would be some land, 8 or 10 states that we can call our own, with an outlet to the sea, land that's fertily rich. This is where we at. But don't believe the hype. This right here is de-escalation. They're trying to calm these young people down. That's what that is. This right here is just straight up pandering. They're trying to get the masses or the educated class of our people to shut up. Look, they're kneeling. See, look, that's the Speaker of the House. That's Nancy Pelosi. No, man. This is the same crap that they've been pulling on us forever. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has warned us time and time again of this hour and what it would bring. And in this latest edition of the Final Call, his article is entitled, "Is America Headed for Civil War?" And I would submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, that America is not headed for civil war. America already is involved in a civil war. But as usual, we always late to the game. Always late to the game. So, wake up, family. I wanted to talk about white supremacy and racism and the power of words, because we talked about Black Lives Matter and how powerful of a message that is. However, there's a hidden agenda behind that particular group. And I was on Facebook and I came across a status of one of my sisters, a beautiful sister named Elisa Yah. And she was talking about white supremacy, and we're talking about the power of words. And if we say we live in a white supremacist system and that white supremacy reigns supreme, and we say it and we say it and we say it, then it absolutely does. Because there's power in those words, right? So, we want to come up with another word. Well, not come up with, but there is another word that is what we're looking at when it comes to what happened to our brother George Floyd and what happened to our brother Rayshard Brooks and what happened to Sandra Bland and what happened to Trayvon Martin and what happened to Philando Castile and what happened to Walter Scott, what happened to Marvin Booker, what happened to, I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Is it white supremacy? Is it racism, white supremacy? Certainly we could definitely say it's racism. But white supremacy, we're going to re-examine that. Now, we got a definition. A white supremacist is a person who believes that the white race is inherently superior to other races and that white people should have control over people of other races. A white supremacist, again, is a person who believes that the white race is inherently superior to other races, that white people should have control over people of other races. That's a white supremacist. So the question has to be asked, brothers and sisters, is Darren Chauvin, the murderer of George Floyd, a white supremacist? Is the murderer of Ahmaud Arbery a white supremacist? Or the murderers? Is the murderer or the murderers of our brother Rayshard Brooks white supremacists? Do they inherently believe that they are superior? Because I'm taking issue with that. Do they believe that the white race is inherently superior to black people, and that white people should have control over people of other races? Now, they definitely want to have control, but do they feel like they're superior? Because if we look at it, Darren Chauvin and those other 3 officers who kneeled on Brother George Floyd for 9 minutes, if they felt superior, one of them could have did it. Think that over. One of them could have did it if they felt superior, if Darren Chauvin felt superior. But no, you got to have 4 and 5 officers. You got to have 2 officers with tasers in the case of Rayshard Brooks, and he whooped both of them, which is why they killed him, shot him in the back. No, what we're dealing with is something different. And Sister Elisa Yah pointed out in this post, what we're dealing with is white misanthropy. White misanthropy. So you're going to say, Brother Herman, what does misanthropy mean? Misanthropy is a hatred or distrust of humankind. Again, a hatred or distrust of humankind. See, you gotta hate somebody to kneel on their neck for 9 minutes. You gotta hate somebody, a black person, to chase him when he's jogging down the street, corner him, and shoot him in the chest with a shotgun. You gotta hate somebody to shoot him in the back 2 or 3 times when he's running away, no longer a threat to you. A hatred or distrust of humankind. And it's broken down humankind because hue implies color or blackness or the hubris of the earth. That's black people. We're not dealing with white supremacy, family. What we're dealing with is white misanthropy. We're dealing with white misanthropy. They hate you based upon the fact, really, that they want to be you. Otherwise, why would we be tanning our skin and getting butt injections and lip injections and the whole 9? Their whole cosmetic industry is geared towards them being you. Think that over. America is on fire. We're still quarantined. We might be quarantined for longer because the second wave of COVID-19 is supposed to be on the way. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you're asking, where's the nation at? Where's Minister Farrakhan? He instructed us that we should stay in. That if we go out to do your work or whatever it is that you need to do, observe your proper PPE, your protective personal equipment, personal protective equipment, however you say it. Observe your social distancing or your physical distancing. I don't like the word social distancing because that implies that we're not close socially. It's a physical distancing to keep those droplets from going out. The virus is real. And since there's been so many people out demonstrating and protesting and whatnot, they're predicting that there will be a second wave. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm going to say this. Look for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on July 4th. You don't have to go nowhere. You don't have to leave the privacy of your own home. Just log on to NOI.org in Denver at 9 a.m. and watch what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has to say. Because I guarantee you that if you listen and watch the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's going to guide you to a place that's safer than the one you're headed to right now. I just gotta say it. This is the messenger of God in our midst. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You could take it or you could let it alone, but I would suggest that you take it because he's going to offer guidance to the world. We're living in a very treacherous and a weird time. But it's a time that was predicted. In this time, a lot of us, we're confused. It's causing anxiety and grief amongst many of our people. And what I would suggest is that, we say we're quarantining, but my brother Nuri likes to say we're Quran-tining. So during this time, get into your Bible, get into your Quran, because those books speak of a time just like this. It speaks of the time that we're living in. We're living in the time of the fulfillment of Scripture. This is, in my humble estimation, this is the judgment. But, I'm not the man of the hour. I'm just trying to be a watchman on behalf of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and telling you all. And that's really the purpose of my coming on tonight. Is just to get you all to pump this up and to get you all to tune in July 4th to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and hear him and help get that guidance, man, that's going to help us through this treacherous hour. Because he does represent grace and mercy in this time. I want to remind you all, not only of that, but to also pick up this issue of the Final Call newspaper, No Reason to Shoot Him. And you need to go to finalcalldigital.com to pick that up. and you won't regret it. This is the biggest, baddest, boldest, blackest newspaper on earth, full of guidance, full of good news and a warning. Um, Also, if you want to just enlighten your mind, you could always tune into Final Call Radio, and that's on finalcall.com. Just click on that icon. You can listen to snippets of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as well as inspiring music 24/7. But that's it, fam. I just wanted to pop in and get that off my chest. Just remember, what we're dealing with is not necessarily white supremacy, because words have power. We're dealing with white misanthropy. They hate who you are. They don't feel like they're superior. Remember, just a word of warning. When you see this sort of stuff, it's a trick. It's a trap. They don't mean it, because they're kneeling, they're wearing kente cloth, but there's no policy backing it up. When you see this, they don't mean it. They don't stand with you. The blue wall ain't gone nowhere. This is de-escalation tactics. De-escalation tactics. They're trained to de-escalate. This de-escalates, or they're trying to de-escalate young people who have taken to the streets because they want justice. But you're not going to get justice amongst these people. I'm going to say this last thing and then I'm going to go. The only way we're going to get justice is if we go in the way for self. Separation is the answer. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that, and this is wisdom, please remember this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that separation is the best and only solution. The best and only solution. And here's what, and you say, you might not agree with that. You might not agree with that. But just think it over. We've been here. You know, they just had that 1619 project, and that marked 400 years of black people being brought here during the transatlantic slave trade, subsequent slavery, and then after that 150 years of Jim Crow, and then after that continued police brutality and oppression up to this very hour. We've been here, according to them, for 401 years. According to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the first slaves came in the year 1555, which makes it 465 years that we've been here. Amongst the people who have shown that they don't love us. How much longer should we give them? That's an open-ended question. You don't have to answer it. Just think about it. How much longer should black people stay amongst a people who hate them? Misanthropy. I'm going to go back to it. How much longer should we deal with the people who have white misanthropy, a hatred or distrust of humankind? See, when they see you, brother, coming towards the elevator, and they clutch their purse, and you haven't done nothing but try and get on the elevator, that's a hatred or distrust of your humanity. And for what? We haven't done anything to earn hatred, or mistrust. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that separation is the best and only solution because we've tried everything else. Gotta think that over. We've tried everything else. So now in Denver, they're taking police out of schools. Is that the answer? They taking police out of schools, defunding the police in other places. But in terms of them taking police out of schools in Denver, you have to ask yourselves the question, what caused them to put police in the schools in the first place? And if you have not addressed that issue, is taking police out of the schools the answer? These are just questions. Real talk. Real talking, Brother Charles. Appreciate you, brother. I'm trying, brother. Indeed, man. And we miss you, brother. They don't even look like they want to be there. Sister Karen, I mean, and you're right. You know, and that's part of what we're saying. These white people at Black Lives Matter rallies, this is a facade. This is a facade. I'm gonna show you another image again. Look, this is a Black Lives Matter rally in 2020, and down here at the right is the 1963 March on Washington, where all these white people holding signs about how they support black people. And yet here we are in 2020 with the same problems, if not worse, than they were in 1963. It's a trick. We gotta go for self, fam. That's the bottom line. We got to go for self. We have everything that we need. We have everything that we need in order to go for self. We just have not put it together. We've got politicians. We've got educators. We have security forces. We have everything that we need. We have doctors, lawyers, nurses, scientists. Everything that we need to have a nation, we have. But it's a matter of putting it together. It's a matter of the right leadership. And I'm saying to you all who say, there are no more black leaders. I watch the demonstrations and it's just young people and there's no direction. And you're right. But this generation knows that we need justice. They just haven't been able to put it together. But I got a leader for you. This is him right here, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And if you just watch him and you just study him, watch his videos. Go to noi.org and find a way to get your hands on the study guides written by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled Self-Improvement is the Basis for Community Development. This is leadership. But the problem is we don't want to follow, most of us don't want to follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because he's going to make us be responsible. He's going to make us be responsible. But and just watch him on July 4th. And that's it. I'm done. Just watch him on July 4th. The Criterion. And look up that word, what that means, the Criterion. So Mountain Time, 9 a.m., July 4th, Independence Day. A message to the world from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's it, fam. I love y'all. Or else I wouldn't be on here. But yeah, check that out. Remember, fam, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And check us out if you're interested in joining the nation or learning more about the nation in Denver, because we doing it in Denver as well. You can go to our website at noidenver.org and drop us a message, or you could just drop me a message personally, and we'll get you the information that you need. So that's it. Don't fall for the okie doke. Remember, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Peace. We out. Love y'all. I'm gonna give y'all my social media, and we'll talk to you soon.
From rags to riches to bad bitches, I had the vision, just added wisdom. A mathematician, a savage nigga. I got the stripes, I'm platted, nigga. Could live life being average, nigga. Had to go climb that ladder, nigga. I was broke as a joke, I was mad at niggas. Now I'm whipping to the bank, I'm laughing, nigga. Like ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. I got this shit jumping now, go check the vert.
No one can make an intelligent decision without being properly informed. This is why this world wants to control the media. This is why media hype can take you up, take you down. So you don't know anymore who's really good, because the media can make a wicked man look good and make a good man look evil. That is why